We've all heard the story of Job. Maybe we don't know all of the details, but the gist of the story, Job endured a whole lot of stuff in his life. And he really kind of was upset with God. Even to the point of really saying that it would have been better if he was never born. Job cried out against God. And the Lord then addressed him and said, basically, who are you to complain in this way? Did you create all of this? Who shut within the doors the sea when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling bands? When I set limits for it, and fastened the bar of its door? Who are you to criticize me? Are you God, in a sense, is what God was saying to Job. But I don't know about you, but I know in my own life there are times, even as a priest, that you pray and pray and pray and pray and pray, and it seems there's no answer. It seems like God isn't listening. And we keep praying, and it's like, okay, God, what's up? Sometimes, and I hear the question, I'm praying wrong. What am I doing wrong that God isn't listening to my prayers? Sometimes I'm losing my faith because God isn't answering my prayers. But what Job reminds us, what our gospel reminds us, is that Jesus is there. And it reminds us to approach life from that basic place of faith. Having that trust and that faith and that surrender to God. Knowing that God is there. You know, the 12, they were fishermen. They knew the sea. They undoubtedly had been in similar violent squalls and storms before. And yet, for whatever reason, this time, they were terrified. Terrified as the waves were crashing over the boat, as the boat was filling up. And they knew Jesus could do some pretty amazing things. But their response wasn't one of trust. It was one of fear and exasperation and a lack of trust and faith in Jesus. Don't you even care? We're sinking. We're going down. We're going to die. And you're just laying there sleeping. How he could sleep through the storm always amazes me. But ultimately then, in the midst of the storm, it still comes back to that same posture of faith and trust. In our world, we can look around us, and we may feel at times that the world is that ship and it's going down. We may feel a sense of unrest, uneasiness, fear. And if you're like me, hopefully we're crying out to God and praying for our world, praying for our nation, praying for an end to the pandemic, praying for our church, praying for all of these needs. And still, we see the storms rage. But what is our response? Our response can't be one like those apostles in the boat. Lord, don't you even care? We're going down. We need you. Come on, answer our prayers. No, we trust and we surrender. Knowing that Jesus is in our boat. Knowing that Jesus has given his life for us. He indeed died for all, so that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for him who for their sake died was raised. We now live for Christ. And we place our hearts, we place our lives in his loving care. That even in the midst of the storms of life, whether that's the storms in our world or those storms that we all will endure at one point or another, even in the midst of those storms, Jesus is there. He is with us. Even if it feels like those waves are crashing against us, he's calming those waves. He's calming the storm. Last week, we talked in that image of the mustard seed, growing into this great big bush that provides shelter for the birds of the air, that place of sanctuary. We reflected how that's an image for Jesus, and how now the church, our church, is that place of sanctuary. This is the place, fed and nourished by Jesus in the Eucharist, in word and in sacrament. This is a place where we encounter others. This is a place where we find that safety, that sanctuary, that peace even in the midst of the storms, as we come to Christ. And as we allow his Spirit to fill us, as we allow his grace and his very blood to wash over us, we are renewed and we are strengthened. That's why what we do here on Sunday every week is so critically important. Because this is where we most powerfully encounter Christ. Where we receive his body and blood. And where we truly find that shelter in the midst of the storm. The storms will rage. That's a given of life. But with Jesus in our boat, with our remaining close to him through his church, through the sacramental life of the church, those waves are calm, the winds die down, and we can trust and surrender. God's got it. He is with us in everything is going to be.